Hello and welcome to another episode of Down the Aisle. Today's video isn't so much about wedding planning, but I'm going to tell you the details of my proposal, of our engagement, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the ring and maintenance and some insurance stuff. So if you are someone who is either looking to propose, these are some things that you may need to consider. Bubs and I got engaged on our Woodstock trip at the end of 2024, and the exact date of our engagement is the 21st of December 24. And the most common question I got when I first announced my engagement was, did I know it was coming? The short answer is yes. The really long-winded answer is also yes, like we still get to yes, but the really long version is basically we had been ring shopping a couple months earlier together, so I definitely knew that something was in the works. And you know, he was enrolled in a catechism course at the time as well. We had also quite extensively over the last couple of years decided or talked about what we wanted our future to look like, and based on that discussion, a marriage and in turn a proposal was definitely very imminent. I still do feel like even that is the shorter version of a very long-winded answer some of my closer friends and family did get. Now, the proposal for us was definitely a much more intimate thing. I, right off the bat, had always said that I didn't want this like big blowout crazy kind of thing. I wanted something that was very much the two of us and God, essentially. And so that's how it happened. We went cherry picking that morning. So this would have been the only full day that we had in Woodstock. We went cherry picking in the morning. We did a wine tasting. We came home, well, back to the Airbnb, and we built some Lego, and then we shared a bottle of champagne, and then towards the end of the night, he popped the question and I said yes. And I think this is a conversation you probably might want to have with a significant other, whether you are the one getting proposed to or the one doing the proposing. I remember a couple of years ago we were working on Vivid. This would have been back in like either 2021 or 2022. And there was this guy that proposed to his girlfriend inside a Vivid installation in front of everyone. And I remember finding out about that proposal and then telling Bubs that if he ever did that, I would crawl under a rock and die. Like, he would not be getting a yes or no answer from me. I would literally be running. And then I also told him, I was like, you know, people getting proposed to at the end of a bushwalk, like, I hate bushwalking. I cannot think of anything worse. Like, hiking up a mountain, hyperventilating, questioning all of my life choices and his hobbies, dripping in sweat to get proposed to. No thank you. So the Airbnb we stayed at in Woodstock was definitely a little bit more off the grid, and reception was a little bit harder, so we didn't actually tell any of our family or friends until we were pretty much back in Sydney. We did post on social media. We posted to Instagram and Facebook on the 24th of December, and that was because I had some family members that I wanted to kind of like tell in person before everyone else found out. I did do like a lot of video calls, and I like screen recorded like my friends' reactions. I didn't, other than my sister, I didn't put like my parents' reaction or anything in those videos. It's literally just my friends. But yeah, we did a post, and we actually have a friend who is a photographer, and the day that we told him, which was the 22nd, he took us out that evening to get some really cute photos. So yeah, because we didn't have anything from the actual proposal itself. Next up is the ring. I'm definitely gonna add a lot of close-ups, but she's definitely big, especially because I have really small hands. But this ring is from Jacques Fine Jewellery. They are located within the Dimox building in Sydney CBD. Now, I know that there are some girls out there who, you know, want to be a part of the decision making for their rings, others who don't want to, some who want to be involved but don't want to know when it happens. I worked very briefly in fine jewelry straight out of high school, and after seeing some of the questionable decisions men have made when left to their own devices, I wanted to be very much a part of the process. So we ultimately went with a 2-carat round brilliant solitaire. It comes out to exactly 2.09 is what the certificate says. It is set in a 6-claw setting, has a diamond collar underneath, and it is in 18-carat yellow gold. The center stone itself is a D color VVS2 clarity. As far as a diamond quality, it is a really good quality diamond. I will also emphasize at this point that this ring is a lab grown diamond. Obviously, I think prices, I'm not really on the ball with natural mined diamond prices anymore, but back from my jewelry days, I can say quite confidently a 2-carat D color VVS2 natural mined diamond would have set you back over 50,000 Australian dollars. So this diamond does come with a lab grown certification. I feel like in Australia, lab grown diamonds, and America as well, have a huge imploding market. It's not so much the case in Asia, as I found out on my most recent trip to Hong Kong. Now, if all you wanted were the details of the proposal and the ring, then this is where you guys can tap out. The rest of this video, I'm going to cover insurance and ring maintenance very briefly. Insurance first. So with Jacques Fine Jewellery on pickup, it doesn't matter when you actually plan to propose. On pickup, you get 4 days of complimentary insurance through Centerstone Insurance, and that is the insurer we ultimately went with. You get a valuation certificate, and I want to emphasize that your valuation is generally going to be higher than what was paid for the ring. So for example, this ring was $6,500. The valuation is just under $11,000. So our insured value is $11,000. Now, I don't know if you can choose to insure at a lower cost, but if you insure it at a lower cost, then obviously your premium goes down. Our premium sits at around $300 a year. So I think for peace of mind, it's definitely worth it, especially if you look at the nitty-gritty kind of details of what Centerstone cover. You are covered internationally. So if we travel with this, we don't need to add this to our travel insurance, because your travel insurance, I think, only insures jewelry up to about $2,000 or like $1,800. There's a cap on it. Whereas, you know, the evaluation is just under $11,000, like I mentioned, and that is what you would be insured for. It goes without saying that, you know, once we pick our wedding bands and we get our wedding bands, that we will most likely be adding it to the same existing insurance policy that we have now. If you were like me and you live pretty close to the jeweler that you purchased it from, a lot of jewelers now will actually offer like a cleaning service. So for example, I probably live about 15 minutes from Jacques Fine Jewellery. So if I ever go into the city, I can always drop the ring off and do a little bit of shopping, come back, and it's going to be nice and washed. If you do not have that as an option, and even if you do, this might be something for you to consider. This is an ultrasonic cleaner, and it's basically, I'm going to move the lid because otherwise it's a lot of metal on metal. This is basically a jewelry cleaner. For someone who owns a lot of fine jewelry, I would highly recommend this, especially if you own fine jewelry from a number of different boutiques, because most boutiques, to cover themselves, they will not wash jewelry from another brand. So I'm yet to take this back to Jacques Fine Jewellery, but there's a very high chance that if I took this back to get it cleaned, I wouldn't be able to get like my cross cleaned, or like my House of Cador ring cleaned, or my Cartier cleaned, because they're trying to protect themselves, and I completely understand that. So this is a really good at-home alternative. This particular one I got on eBay. I think it was less than $40. You can get bigger ones, but I think this is the smallest size it comes in. It comes with a little basket for you to put said jewelry in, and then there is a lid. The way I clean the jewelry is, I'm not going to show you guys because then I have to connect it to a power source, but I do 3 minutes on digress first. Then I grab a toothbrush with some hand soap, and very gently, I like scrub, but gently. I scrub it just to kind of get any more dirt that's trapped underneath, and then I put it back in this for 3 minutes on digress, and then I use a polishing cloth just to give it kind of a rough at home polish. And that is probably the easiest way to keep your jewelry cleaned without having to trek it in to the city. It's also really small, as you can see, so based on like my hand size, it's pretty much just one hand width across, so it's really easy storage wise. You have a lid that gives it a pretty much flat surface, so you can stack things on top of it if you don't want to keep it out all the time. Alrighty, that pretty much wraps up this video. If you guys have any questions, comments or queries, please do not hesitate to leave them down below. I will try and find the exact link for the ultrasonic cleaner that I bought. I will also link Jacques Fine Jewellery's details or down below as well. But yeah, if you've got any questions, pop them down. If not, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!